So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the ICD Annual Conference on Cultural Diplomacy. My name is Mark Donfried, the director and founder of the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, and it's a very high honor that I have the chance to welcome you all today. President Bogay, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests. There's too many distinguished guests to begin mentioning them by name, but I really would just like to extend my sincere gratitude to you all for having come from great distances to be here today, and we really very much look forward to the privilege of learning from you all. This conference is co-hosted together by the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy and the Iman Foundation, and I'm really grateful to have had the chance to partner with Ribal Al Assad for this event. We did a great conference recently also in Spain looking at reconciliation and interfaith dialogue. So this is the continuation of a great tradition. And I'd just like to say one sentence. How do we win the hearts and minds of foreign audiences? How do we persuade? How do we somehow project images of our cultures to the world? Where I think there's a huge potential for cultural diplomacy in the future is actually to do the opposite. In the sense, how can we create other opportunities to listen, to actually understand other cultures from around the world? And I would argue that seems to be the biggest opportunity for cultural diplomacy of the future, really. How can we facilitate access between cultures, between nations, between peoples, really so that we can listen more, that we can learn more? So a cultural diplomacy more about input than actually output. So I'll just mention that as one brief thought, and we can think about this again over the course of the next few days. But I really look forward also in this conference to learn from everyone who is here. So without further ado, I'll give the microphone to a very close partner from ICD and a very close friend, Mr. Yasir Yakesh, former Foreign Minister of Turkey, co-founder of the AKP party in Turkey, and also the president of the Young Leaders Forums of the ICD. Mr. Yasir Yakesh.
Thank you very much. I would like also to join my voice to welcome distinguished professors, former politicians, and present politicians, but also distinguished audience, because they are also very distinguished people. I noticed when I was teaching in the MA course here. The conference that begins today will be a summary of what we have done throughout the year, and you will see that the cultural diplomacy is a process in being, in becoming, because cultural diplomacy was practiced since millennia, but it was not an independent discipline. It's becoming now an independent discipline only now, and this institute is one of the very rare institutes in the world that contributes to the shaping of cultural diplomacy and to the teaching of it with very distinguished people. The most distinguished of them is President Constantinescu, that I invite now, I will invite to the microphone. Mr. Constantinescu, you may all know he doesn't need any introduction. He was president of Romania, but a very eminent scholar also. He published several books and the dozens and per scores of articles, and he is a member of the advisory board of the institute, and a very strong supporter of our institute. Mr. President Constantinescu, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Honorable Yakesh. Thank you, Director Donfried, distinguished politician and representative of academic milieu. Dear students, it's a great pleasure for me, an honor for me, to say on behalf of Academy for Cultural Diplomacy, welcome to participants at the annual conference on cultural diplomacy 2012, the power of the arts and culture to promote democracy and global peace. Why do you need a cultural diplomacy? This new concept, the Institute in Berlin tries to promote with such devotion and commitment. My answer, because the world is changing. And if the world is changing, politics in its high signifying community interest service should change too. In my opinion, the first step of the cultural diplomacy should take would be to make conceptual map of the international political universe. On it we could draw the different worlds populating our planet, the postmodern, the modern, and the pre-modern ones. Only on such a foundation we can build politics and security strategies proper for a fastly changing and contradictory world. ICD, an Academy for Cultural Diplomacy, can act as a laboratory where political culture of global security is created through mutual trust, negotiation, and cooperation. It can identify major risks, define and implement programs to enhance mutual trust, both in countries with high risk and in potential conflict areas. In this laboratory, young students, master students, PhD students can meet former statesmen, professors, prime minister, minister of foreign affairs, parliamentary. They can share their experience and of democratic statesmen, while professor and research from the academic field can develop new concepts necessary for a long-term strategy. Both concept and experience might be wasted without the interest, questions, and fresh thinking of the young generation, which enrich the debated within ICD conferences and generate novelty. What kind of novelty? In last time on the TV screens in Bucharest, Vienna, Paris, or Astana, it is very often present an advertisement for a car, where a pleasant feminine voice recommends the creative technology. I believe that in what concerns the field of foreign relationship, cultural diplomacy can be a creative technology. It is necessary because preventive vocation will be the cornerstone of the diplomacy in the near future. The great contribution preventive cultural diplomacy brings to the architecture of world security will undoubtedly be of those wars that have never occurred due to the creation of democratic mechanisms for dialogue and strengthening cooperation with civil society. It is a good thing of the future we desire that we can meet so many young face students today in this hall. I would wish for all a pleasant stay in Berlin, in a friendly atmosphere create here in each year, and success for the ICD Annual Conference on Cultural Diplomacy 2012 December session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. And now I would like to invite Mr. Ribal Al Assad to the microphone. Mr. Ribal Al Assad is co-host of this meeting. The foundation that he established, the Imam Foundation, is co-sponsoring this meeting. But of course, we are not grateful to him only for this co-hosting, but for all support that he has already extended to the activities of this meeting. Ribal Al Assad is from a country which crosses a very difficult period at present, Syria, which is also that I regard my second home because I served in Syria for 4 years in the past, 30 years ago. But I am sure that this nice people of Syria will reach sooner or later the good days which they deserve very much. Mr. Ribal Al Assad, you have the floor, but I think you are not properly equipped yet.
Thank you.
Fine.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. His Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure and honor to be amongst you again here at the ICD. And it's always a great pleasure to see some of the familiar faces again here. A close friend showed me a newspaper article last weekend. It listed violent conflicts currently taking place across the globe and the fatalities associated with them. The list included Yemen, Mali, Afghanistan, Northwest Pakistan, Sudan, and Syria. There are places that have become synonymous with misery and pain, with a common root cause, extremism and sectarianism, manipulated for political ends. Anyone with a passing interest in the Arab Spring and its aftermath, the politics of the Middle East and North Africa, or the issues with Chechnya, Bosnia, or Burma, needs a fundamental grasp of theology to understand the politics. The issue of religious suspicion and hatred sits at the heart of the world's problems. And as many diplomats, politicians, and religious leaders are beginning to appreciate, the best and only solution lies in soft power. There has never been a greater need for it, and never has the word been so clearly split between those cultures that pursue it and those who do not. Cultural and diplomatic integration is the only way to resolve conflicts that are too deep-rooted for hard power to do anything but polarize them. And there can be no better example of those approaches than the city of Berlin. Frederick William, known as the Great Elector, became ruler of this city in 1640, promoting policies of immigration and religious tolerance. He offered asylum to the French Huguenots, of whom 6,000 settled in the city, meaning that by the rule of Frederick the Great, 1 in every 5 Berliners was French. And in this atmosphere of acceptance and tolerance, Berlin became a center of the Enlightenment. Back in the present, reunified Berlin houses an elected mix of universities, research institutes, orchestras, museums, and sports teams. 60% of Berliners claim to have no religious affiliation, making this the atheist capital of Europe. But amongst them, 10% of the city is Muslim, 10% Roman Catholic, 20% Protestant, and most poignantly, one of the...
It is my great pleasure to take the floor at the opening of this ICD conference. First of all, I would like to congratulate our dear director, Mark Donfried, and all the staff, all the team. Please give a round of applause to Mark Donfried and all the team. Thank you. Our conference is taking place a few days after the 10th of December, the International Day for Human Rights and the International Anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and also a few weeks after the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, the 25th of November of every year. Of course, human rights should be considered in their entirety and universality. Women's rights as human rights, the right of the child and the right of the disabled people, and the civil and political rights, but also economical, social, cultural, and environmental rights. At this very moment, our world is unfortunately still witnessing wars and all forms of violence and multiple violation of human rights. However, our world has also achieved some progress. Indeed, although the Palestinian people continue to suffer from Israeli occupation, we are very happy to congratulate Palestine for gaining the observer status as a UN non-member state. This is a significant step of the international community toward an alternative of peace and stability in the Middle East through the recognition of two states, Israel and Palestine. Is it not high time to put an end to this long-lasting conflict which has brought about so much suffering, has plagued international relations, and which prevents the Mediterranean from becoming a sea of peace, dialogue, and co-development? At the same time, the Syrian people continue to fight heroically against dictatorship and tyranny. The Syrian people have paid a high cost in human lives, more than 40,000 people killed since the beginning of the uprising in Syria. Men, women, and children have lost their most basic human right, the right to life. In support of the Syrian people in their struggle for freedom and democracy, Morocco has just hosted in the city of Marrakesh the 4th meeting of the group of Friends of the Syrian people, which brought together about 100 states with a view to paving the path to a democratic transition in the broader country of Syria. We express here our solidarity with the Syrian people, but also with the peoples of Egypt, Tunisia, Libya, Mali, and other countries which struggle for freedom, democracy, and dignity. In Morocco, we are also engaged in a democratic and pacific process to change, and we have adopted a very advanced constitution that established human rights and gender equality between men and women, and also parity. Our country have lifted reservation on CEDAW and approved optional protocol to the CEDAW. Of course, we still have big challenges to implement this constitution and eradicate violence against women and so many other problems, but we are hopeful because we have a vibrant civil society and democratic movement in our country. And also we have a king, His Majesty Mohammed VI, who is very engaged for human rights and democracy. We take this opportunity to reaffirm gender equality, and the eradication of discrimination against women is a prerequisite for achieving freedom, democracy, and social justice. Women are indeed victims of violence everywhere in the world. According to the United Nations, throughout the world, 1 woman in 3, on average, will experience domestic violence, will be a victim of sexual violence, and otherwise mistreated by an intimate partner during his lifetime. According to the World Bank data, women aged between 15 and 44 are more at risk of death and disability through domestic violence and rape than through cancer, motor accident, wars, and malaria altogether. Worldwide, between 500,000 and 2 million people fall victim to trafficking every year, mostly women and children, for the purpose of prostitution, forced labor, slavery, or servitude. I can't help remembering with a great deal of emotion the case of young 14 years old Malala, who was assaulted on last 9 of October and shot in the head and in the neck while she was returning from school in the town of Mingora in Pakistan. This outrageous attack was carried out by a group of Pakistani Taliban for the simple reason that Malala protested against the Taliban who destroy girls' school and threaten to kill girls who go to this school. To address all these forms of violence, it is noble and humanistic to promote cultural diplomacy and dialogue through art and culture, to enable artists to express themselves and to allow citizens to share our humanity, our most valuable and common treasure. Thank you for offering us this excellent opportunity to exchange and share our thoughts on how to promote peace and dialogue on the basis of the universal values of human rights in their entirety and universality, and also share moments in which speeches would give way to art and culture. Thank you very much. And I apologize for my bad English, but it is my third language. Thank you.
Definitely your thoughts are more important than your accent, and it was very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.